Yes, everybody, what's happening? My name is Stephen Howson, last time I checked. And this is Sheffield United tactical preview ahead of the game on Sunday. Got no midfield, son. This is a nightmare, and you might notice I'm in a different background. The reason why it's against what wouldn't commonly be known as the Stretford Paddock background, it's actually where my desk is at work, and that's the background. It's a pretty fucking good background for an office and a workspace, isn't it, if I do say so myself. Matt Busby here. Anyway, that's the reason for this is because the studio, which is just through there where we normally film my stuff, is all prepared for the 24-hour charity podcast that we're doing, and we are partnered with Marcus Rashford with it. So we're hoping we're going to be getting a video a little bit later on from Marcus, and there'll be some sort of link-ups that go on tomorrow as well. So keep an eye out on that. I believe we've got one of his boots to give away from the ER thing that we did about a month ago, and we've also got one of his boots to auction, and I've asked him, I don't know the answer on it yet, whether we can have his shirt from Sunday's game. So let's hope it's a match-winning, hat-trick hero shirt, and we'll raise loads of money for the homeless in Manchester by auctioning it off. Anyway, without further ado, let's start talking about how we're going to beat fifth place Sheffield United. How are these lot in fifth? I fully owe them an apology because I had them coming 20th in the table, and they're doing a bit better than 20th, aren't they? They're killing it. I don't think they're going to sustain this. I think they are probably going to drop down throughout the league. I don't think they're getting relegated for sure now. I think they're definitely staying up. I think they've certainly earned that, and we will be. What's that? Hang on. And we will be. I don't know what I was going to say. I just got distracted by someone saying, I messaged you about that, Steve. Message me about what? I have to be a bit more specific, mate. Right, anyways, let's get stuck into it. So, team news, no midfield, no Scott Mctominay. He's going to be missing for the next few weeks after picking up a knock against Brighton. Ollie said Scott will be out for a while still. He's not been training with us. He's still recovering, and hopefully we can see him maybe around the time of Tottenham or City. He does heal quick, but he's not going to be ready for Sheffield United or Astana. Pogba still missing, but he's able to play basketball. Pogba is improving. Obviously, he's been out, but when you're in a cast for that long, you do your muscles, so gradually you have to step it up. He's not started on football work yet, just his 3 points. Axel Tuanzebe, Delo and Shaw all returned to training this week. Rojo and Matic still missing. So what are we going to do about it? What are we going to play in midfield? That is the big question, isn't it? Now, Sheffield United, why are they so good this year? Why have they taken teams by surprise? They do play a slightly different style of football. I like Chris Wilder. I like what he represents, and I like what he's done in terms of putting this style of play into this team. I think they will come unstuck just as the quality really starts to hit later on in the season. After Christmas, I think you'll see them drop down. I think they're probably still on course for a top 10 finish, which is still outrageously good in a promotion season in the Premier League. But I do think they are due for dropping down. Dean Henderson's been massive for what they do. Lis Musse's also key. 3 goals, 3 assists in 3 starts. He's played quite a few times off the bench. But he's scoring a goal every 117 minutes in the league this season. Now, the way they play, the overlapping centre-backs is what gets the headlines. But for me, that's not what Sheffield United are about. When I've looked at Sheffield United, that's not the crazy. It's not even a crazy thing, but that's not their standout thing that they do. What I notice that they do is they'll pick a channel. It's very often the wing. They don't generally do it down the middle. They'll pick a channel, and this is where the overlapping centre-back comes into play. But it could be an inverted fullback if they was playing a different system. It could be a winger. It can be anything. It can be a pair of midfielders even. They overload a certain channel on the pitch, whether that's the left side or the right side. They overload it. And when they overload it, they create a series of 1v2s and 3v2s. And then when you're playing football, a 1v2 or a 2v1 and a 3v2 is just... it's just numbers. It's just an easy way for you to make sure you have someone that's always free to receive the ball. And then they work that ball in that channel and work it into the box and manage to get a shot off. They're not taking in a crazy amount of shots. They're very clinical in their shooting. But there's a very weird thing the way they do this, overloading an area. Now, United play a counter-attacking style of football, as do Sheffield United. They play without the ball mostly. When United counter-attack, we try and put the ball in behind their defence, turn them round and use the pace of our players to get on the end of it. Sheffield United don't do it like that. They do it in this weird style where they'll slowly overload one area. And before you know it, you're like, why is there so many players around here? And that's where Sheffield United's strengths is. It's a different way of playing counter-attacking football. And it's interesting because they'll throw a centre-half in there. But do you remember what we was talking about at the start of the season when we was talking about Harry Maguire stepping into midfield to create an overlap, to create someone to make a decision? If you're marking the entire midfield and you're looking, let's say you're playing against United and you're marking Fred, this guy's marking Pogba, someone else is marking Jesse or Juan Mata or something like that. When Maguire steps into midfield, one of us needs to make a choice. Do I stay with my man or do I go and deal with this guy driving into midfield? And it's that overload that a centre-half creates. It's not necessarily unique to what Chris Wilder does, except in the fact that he overlaps them rather than has them coming through the middle. But the result is the same, is that it's someone creating numerical superiority. The way that you want your fullback overlapping your winger is to create a 2v1 in that situation, in that area of the pitch. What Wilder likes to do is just create overlaps in weirder areas of the pitch that are less traditional than everybody else. It works. So hats off to him and hats off to Sheffield United. I think they're probably in a slightly false position at the moment. Come the end of the season, if they're still there, then they will have absolutely earned that. I think United are going to do bits. And I think the key player for United this week, for me, has to be Fred. Fred's going to be probably the major senior midfielder. If we went with Jimmy Garner, we could, and I'm going to talk about my 11 in a second, but if we went with Jimmy Garner in midfield alongside him, Fred's going to have a lot to do. He's got to look after him. He's got to look after his own job. It's a lot of stuff to do. If we go with Andreas Pereira, the decision-making question mark gets thrown in. If you went with someone like a Lingard or a Mata out of position, you've got that to contend with. If you played Matic and he's not fit, there's issues. There's issues in every single area of the pitch if you play someone out of position to make this happen, because we don't have a fit number 6 or even a number 8 box-to-box that could play in this role, except for Jimmy Garner, who's lacking experience. So for me, Fred really has to step up in this game. Can he perform without McTominay doing the dirty stuff behind him? Can he perform when the pressure's really on and he has to take somebody else under his wing because they're playing out of position or because they're inexperienced? So for me, Fred's going to be a very key player to what United do in this game on Sunday. Let's have a look at the starting 11 then. So there's going to be no surprises whatsoever in the back 4, back 5. Brandon Williams, best left back the world has ever seen. It's probably like Maldini in Brandon Williams, I think, if we're talking just about all time. And coincidentally, Brandon Williams, Dennis Irwin and Maldini, all right-footed left backs. Bit of a coincidence? I think not. Wan-Bissaka at right back, 2 centre-halves as usual. Maguire and Lindelof. I don't think Axel will be coming straight back into the team just yet, but I would expect over the next couple of months to see Axel cement himself as the first choice centre-half. Midfield then, I did go with Jimmy Garner alongside Fred, and I've gone with Dan James, Jesse Lingard and Marcus Rashford behind Tony Marshall. Now, I expect United to have more possession tomorrow. And typically when I see United are about to have more possession, what I want to see them do is have Juan Mata in the team. Because Juan Mata is someone that can break a defence down. And Jesse Lingard can't. And for me, that's massive. But because of the way that this Sheffield team likes to overload in certain areas, you have to press them. And because you have to press them, for me, you've got to throw in somebody like Jesse Lingard, because Juan Mata's not a pressing guy, Marshall's not a pressing guy, but we will see a press from that 3 behind Tony Marshall. That's how we're going to win this game. We're going to press them into possession. We're going to make them make mistakes. And when that high line with the overlapping centre-halves messes up, we got to turn the ball over, transition quickly, put the ball in behind so Dan James can run onto it or Rashford can run onto it and punish them. And I think that's what United are going to do. Let me know what you got in terms of questions, and I'll get to those in a little second. Keno killed Rice, says Luke. He's just talking the truth. I see nothing that Rice does that Scott McTominay doesn't do. Fred Pereira, Ghana, maybe. If Ollie plays younger over Brandon, there is no helping him, says Andrew. Do you know what? He probably really is. He probably really is going to, but I just refuse to accept it. Buy Akinfenwa and put him in goal. Don't know if that's going to work. Who goes in for McTominay? Ghana? Well, yeah, Ghana's who I'm going to go for, to be honest. Their centre-half overlaps to cross the ball into the box. Not always them that does the crossing, to be honest, but like I said, it's the overlap and the overload in one certain area. Former United goalkeeper Anders Lindgaard said David Moyes replacing Sir Alex was like trying to charge an iPhone with a Nokia. Okay. Sheffield United a solid tough nut to crack, says Kay Brennan. That Fleck guy is speedy on the counter. They are a tough nut to crack. If they go ahead, they're very capable at shutting you out. Now, I don't know what the situation is going to be like once they play us, because Dean Henderson, who's been very key to them, isn't going to be around. So that one is one that I think is going to be very big. I'm going to head over to the Patreon group and see what's cracking over in there. You guys have got a podcast coming out later on tonight. So I think Williams overtook Young in Ollie's pecking order. This weekend will tell us, won't it? Because for me, he's been flawless, Brandon. And I think it'd be a real positive to see him given a proper go. Let's see. With their defence being so good and us struggling to score, how do we break them down? Let's see if it's their defence or if it's Dean Henderson or if it's a combination of the both. Having a new goalkeeper can throw you a little bit sometimes. Also, not just for this game, but all the Christmas ones coming up. Is it an idea to rotate Greenwood, Marshall, James and Rashford every game? One rested per game. Maybe. Mason scored on international break, didn't he? So let's see if he can continue that form. Off the bench, I would say, though. Let's actually get him off the bench. Who do I think will fill in? Yeah, I think it's going to be Ghana. Can we see Ghana fill Andreas' role and Andreas fill in Scott's role? No, you wouldn't put Ghana that far ahead. You would just literally swap Ghana in for Scott. Ash Milton is our best option right now to play Ghana and Fred with Gomez in a 10. Now he's fit. He was fit anyway, apparently. He's just not being played. Or do I think Pereira is actually good enough? I wouldn't play Pereira. I think he might play Pereira in the 6, though. I think he's probably looking at that and thinking that's probably a good idea. I disagree, but I think he might do that. Do I think we should see Rojo as opposed to Lindelof? I would have said yes, but he's injured and he's not going to play. Will they sit deep or try to play against us a little? Would I play Mata? I wouldn't play Mata, but yes, they do like to play without the ball, so I would expect them to drop off and be a bit of a nightmare to close down. All I can see out the corner of my eye is Kieran doing laps of the studio. He's trying to update the PlayStation for tomorrow so we can have a FIFA tournament. He's giving me 2 thumbs up. I'm not sure what 2 thumbs up and a big grin means. I think that means it's gone wrong. Has it gone wrong? You just switched it while we was live, didn't you? All right, you might as well show him. Yeah, here's a view of where we're going to be tomorrow. This is what we're doing, getting ready for the 24-hour podcast, so enjoy that. Do I think Ollie would risk it and start Garner and Levitt? I tell you what, if he does, the balls on the guy in a game like this. Any inside info on what's going on with Pogba? Nothing. My gut feeling tells me he will not be here that long, though. Do I think the international break performances from the likes of Rashford, James, and our saviour will be carried on into the Prem? Maybe. If fit, could Tuanzebe do a job in midfield against Sheffield United? Yeah, as a worst-case scenario, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but we will see. How different do I think Pochettino United would set up and play in comparison to Solskjaer's United? Is Poch more likely to scrape wins against Sheffield United due to his experience? No. The fuck? Pochettino United would look exactly the same. The guy's obsessed with the 4-2-3-1 as well, pretty much. Sometimes plays 4-3-3. It doesn't have Harry Kane to create up front for him. No, Pochettino's United would be far worse. Far worse. And he doesn't strike me as a very fucking charismatic guy either. Hence why he's out of fucking work. Right. That will do for me. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to come and check out the 24-hour podcast tomorrow. We should have some stuff to auction and give away. We've got some outrageous art, which I don't think is going to hit the minimum that is required for it. These are pieces that are going from the artist for over $2,000. So if you've got loads of fucking cash and you want one of these fucking outrageous paintings, you're probably going to get a bargain tomorrow. We've got 3 of them to auction off. We're aiming for $7,500. If these fucking free paintings go for what they're supposed to go for, then we're going to smash it. Check out the Patreon, link in the description, and I'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. for 24 hours of talking utter bollocks. See you then.